Namaste, teacher students, the immortal spirit energy in this body. The teacher acknowledges and honors the student, teacher, and youth. So, as we are just winding down, we are just checking on the current events going on, right? And we happen to come upon when there's several that have been, of interest. And this one that we're going to comment on, and we're going to just, you know, evolve those who want to be evolved, right? You know, West Tupac winning every struggle together, uniting people of all colors is always encouraging that evolutionary stimulation of the body's dendrites in the brain, right? There's these dendrites in your body's brain that will snap off and prune themselves with evolving tools, right? So we come across this article and it's by U.S. News and it's titled Missouri Governor Pardons Mark and Patricia McCloskey, couple who waved guns at protesters. So that's what sort of, sparked my attention of wanting to click on this particular article. And it says the couple were recorded in June 2020 brandishing guns at peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters as they passed by their mansion in St. Louis. And this is the thing here. these um these homeowners, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, they are bright skinned. And West Tupac, we've explained to you it is better to refer to humans in the bright skin category all up to the dark skin category, right? You remember bright, white, quote unquote, a body who's considered white, you'd call them an albino. One that's considered actually black, you'd call them the opposite of what they've called an albino. Is that even a thing? We could look that up. Okay? So, this is the thing. Now, if we have Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who are bright skinned, who possibly have been conditioned to believe that they're white, which they're not, right? Because we already know that if something is white, it does not change its color. If it should change its color from white, it's no longer called white. It may be called off-white. It may be called cream. It may be called, there's all types of different names for the shades that go, there's 120 that the human eye can recognize. So, these two, possibly identifying as white, being under that subliminal blindfold of hypocrisy. And so the Black Lives Matter protesters, they are obviously, in that same boat. And this is why. Because we don't see no white lives matter protesters. We don't see no red lives matter protesters. We don't see no yellow lives matter protesters. We don't see no brown lives matter protesters. We don't see no green lives matter protesters. We don't see no purple lives matter protesters. Right? So, if, for instance, Mark and Patricia McCloskey happen to be dark skinned, and remember, and I'm just going to say this just in case there are those who are new to this, right? Remember, dark skin is a huge spectrum of colors that could be considered dark skin, okay? So we're going to go with dark skin referencing these these um these beings' choice of words, and we're going to say that they're black. They identify as black, Mark and Patricia. So they identify as black, and there happens to be a peaceful protest of White Lives Matter. Do we believe that Patricia and Mark McCloskey would sit there and with the video and just show that they are armed, so that if any of the prejudice-minded protesters, segregative-minded protesters, and or homeowners, and or whomever, because remember, we don't participate in segregation of that particular kind, right? We don't participate in that because we know that all living beings, whether they're animal or human or extraterrestrial, have the free will, the right to live free and happy regardless of what they are deemed to look like or be perceived as by another. Okay? So, you know, that's the thing that has to be recognized here. Now, now, hopefully, this happened on June 28th of 2020 is when this picture here was taken. You can see it. You possibly can't see it because it's too bright. There you go. Maybe. Let's see. Nope. You can. That's the picture. Okay, so you see the picture of them, and it's this picture is dated June 28th, 2020, which is really a beautiful day in some aspects. It was definitely a traumatic day for our father's family in having to deal with the transition of my grandmother, our grandmother Clara's body, in an accident. Um, so I just wanted to say that because just reading that, it's amazing considering that my mother's body, she was born in St. Louis, Missouri area and, grew up there. So, not all the time, being in a military household or whatever. Um, but, the thing is that there's going to probably be a whole bunch of fucking, um, you know, backlash and outcry of that when nobody would look at the whole scenario there, okay? Because they get fed all these fucked up ass propaganda bitch ass shit. For instance, thinking that it's okay to consume the abducted, tortured, raped, murdered remains of innocent animals, right? So, you know, earlier before actually recording this, I wanted to point out that, Rodney King, who was beaten by Los Angeles County Police, the Los Angeles Police Department, back in '92, I guess. Um, he was at a news conference after riots broke out due to the quote unquote want to be justice system, yet it's very injustice system, um, allowed the officers who were on video brutally beating them to get off and not be held accountable for their actions. That was in 90 fucking 2 or 93 when it was a 2. I can look at the fuck up. Let me look at the fuck up real quick. So he was in a news conference explaining and asking everybody to just all get along. Now, what he was referring to was the black and white specifically to get along. That it shouldn't be a riot with against each other because it was the police brutality, the acts of the police and the injustice system that allowed the criminals to get off on their crime. And that's unacceptable behavior. he was found dead. Um, so, so he was found dead June 17th of 2012, and I don't know if he actually died from his own accord. So excuse me, it was 91, March 3rd, 1991 is when he was beaten by the police. And um, let me see if it references the um, yeah. So the riots themselves happened in '92 after the police the verdict that allowed the police to get off free. And that's in fucking 1992. It's 2021. you know, and they're still allowed to be able to do that, being caught on videos, their own videos, having their own evidence of them fabricating charges in order to want to fund the profit, the profit system of criminal atrocities, of them literally wanting those things to happen within their own race, the human race. So it's important that we share this information with you who are comprehending what our nonprofit organization is sharing out there for you freely. Okay? Remember, participate in consuming vegan plant-based products like your human body is biologically designed to do, which is not by getting it from the remains of animals who are consuming our natural resources. Okay? Don't cut the middle. You're cutting the middleman out. All you really want to do is get the nutrients from the sun, the other planets. And the sun, the photosynthesis of the sun transfers energy and nutrients into the vegetables, the fruits, the foliage, the nuts, the berries, the fruits as a berry, legumes, beans, grains, rices. Okay? So, um, remove that subliminal blindfold of hypocrisy. Namaste.